It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
And welcome into another edition of Musso at the Box. Well, the time is just about here. LSU will open the NCAA tournament and the Chapel Hill Regional at 11 a.m. Central Time Friday against Wofford, the 3 seed in Chapel Hill. LSU, the 2, of course, the host, North Carolina Tar Heels, are the 4th overall national seed. Long Island is your 4 seed. We have broken this down from just about every angle we can leading into it, except for one. We took your questions about the regional. We previewed North Carolina. We previewed Long Island. The only thing left to do is LSU's opponent, the Wofford Terriers, and we will do that over the course of the next 30 or so minutes. Go much deeper, much more in depth than we have previously earlier in the week. So smash the like button if you have not already. Get subscribed up to the YouTube channel. Get subscribed up on your favorite podcast app. Follow me on social media. And y'all, we got a lot to do. This is a very interesting Wofford team. Let's get started. This will be the first meeting all time between LSU and Wofford, although the Tigers are 18-0 in their history against the SoCon. When you look at Wofford, they are coming off of now back-to-back 40-win seasons, champions of the SoCon tournament, playing 7 games in 5 days, winning 6 of them to officially punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament for the second time in school history, the first since 2007. They are 0-2 in NCAA tournament play. When you look at Wofford, the first thing that jumps off the page, offense. We've talked surface level about that. We will go much deeper here today. They have an ace in Zach Cohen, who everybody is expecting to get the baseball. Is there a reason he might not? Well, we'll dive into that. But then again, the reason he might not is kind of also the reason that he will. I'll explain later. And of course, everybody wants to know what Jay Johnson's going to do with his pitching staff. We gave you some thoughts earlier in the week. We will revisit those here today. That's your overview. Dive in. We'll start how we always do. We'll start with pitching matchups. Jay Johnson met with the media in Chapel Hill on Thursday, did not announce a starting pitcher. That should be no surprise. We are accustomed to that by now. Jay Johnson, this is his 3rd year, and he made it very clear in his first year, once the postseason hits, there will be no announcements on starting pitching plans, or anything like that. So you got nothing. In the same vein, he did not give an update on Christian Little's status, although Michael Cobble from WBRZ did pass along that Christian Little did not participate in practice on Thursday. So take that for what you will. I think all of us are expecting Little to not be a part of this weekend for LSU. It's just the guy injured his lat on Sunday. To be ready on Friday is asking a lot, and you can't have a pitcher. Jay Johnson talked about this. You can't have a pitcher on your active roster who cannot pitch. Not in a tournament where you could end up playing, 5 games in 3 days, something like that. You need all available hands on deck. So with Christian Little not participating in practice, again, that report from Michael Cobble at WBRZ, it stands to reason that he will not be on the roster, or the active roster, I should say, but no official word on that. We're simply assuming and inferring. Now, from a starting pitching perspective, let's look at both LSU and Wake Forest. Let's talk LSU. We mentioned Jay didn't announce, but one thing Jay did do was talk about his mindset, his thought process when it comes to setting up his pitching for a regional.
At this point, you're only playing a good team. For instance, in this regional, I think everybody but us has won a championship already this year. So, of course, you're going to respect them. I think the regional is unique in every year. It's a unique weekend in terms of you take it one game at a time, but you have to look at the totality of it because there's such a big difference whether you win or lose the first game or not, or you win or lose the second game or not. So you have to take everything into account, and that's why I've always been like, hey, the pitching plan is designed for the whole weekend with respect and everybody.
The pitching plan is designed for the whole weekend with respecting everybody. You're only playing good teams at this point. That gives you a little bit of a hint where Jay Johnson is going with this, right? The other interesting thing that he did say, and I call it interesting, I think it's actually a load of malarkey. Jay Johnson was asked by what I believe was a local reporter in Chapel Hill. Is it an advantage now having Jump and Holman ready to roll over and go this weekend? And this was Jay's response.
I wouldn't say that we're going to do that per se. So I think when those two pitch, I'm incredibly excited is what I will tell you. I love those guys. They've been everything that we hoped that they would be. Very thankful that they're here. They were brought here with this design, you need 5 or 6 wins from this point to get back to Omaha. I mean, there's a good bet that those guys would throw, 4 of those games that you need to try to get back.
Yeah, I just don't believe him at all. LSU is going either Gage Jump or Luke Holman in this game against Wofford, and I've told y'all I think it's Gage Jump. The first answer we played kind of negated everything that he said in that one. Not everything. I mean, he's obviously really excited when they pitch, and you are going to need them to pitch in 4 if you got to win 5, 6, whatever. They're going to pitch in 4 of those games and whatnot. The thing in that first cut we played where he talks about winning the game in front of you and not getting behind the 8 ball. That's why. And respecting everybody. Y'all, we'll throw it back out there. And last year, Paul Skeens against a 19-win Tulane team. Tulane stunk. They weren't good. You destroyed them in the regular season. You threw Paul Skeens, the best pitcher any of us have seen in college baseball since Steven Strasburg, against a 19-win Tulane team. I like the 2022 example even more because I think it's the most comparable to this regional where LSU is a 2 seed on the road playing a mid-major that doesn't have much on the mound but is really good offensively. In 2022, that was Kennesaw State. And if you'll remember, that was a freaking slugfest. It was like 12-11 or something like that LSU won. You threw Mikhail Hilliard, who was your best pitcher that year, and saved Ty Floyd, who wasn't the Ty Floyd that he became, knowing if you won, he'd have to go up against Hurston Waldrop from Southern Miss at that point. But you couldn't leave anything to chance. And LSU's not going to do that this time. Jump or Holman, take your pick. My pick is Gage Jump because I think they'll keep them on their normal rest. Jay can say what he wants to say. There is nothing that would surprise me more if LSU took to the field Friday morning at 11 a.m. Central Time and it was not either Jump or Holman. I would be jaw on the floor shocked. And I think it will be Gage Jump because they have been really regimented in keeping these guys on rest. LSU is one of the most routine-oriented programs when it comes to pitching. Yes, you have both of them on long rest, but give me Gage Jump, and I think it's a great opportunity there for LSU. Now, Wofford has also not announced a starting pitcher. Now, everyone assumes that will be Zach Cohen, their ace, who is a converted shortstop, mind you, who just started pitching and has been incredible. He is the reigning D1 Baseball National Pitcher of the Year for his performance in the SoCon. So you would say there's no way he's not starting. And I told you kind of right off the top, there might be one reason, but the reason he might not start is also the reason he probably will start. This is what I mean by that. In the SoCon tournament, Zach Cohen pitched on May 22nd, very well, by the way, 6 2/3 innings, 5 hits, and an earned run. That was on May 22nd. 3 days later, he pitched again on the 26th against Samford, threw 7 innings, gave up 4 runs, and Wofford wins the SoCon tournament and punches their ticket. So you had that guy throw on 3 days rest in the SoCon tournament. To bring him back, Friday would be 4 days rest, 2 consecutive outings on short rest. You could look at that and go, maybe not. Is that overextending? Is that taxing on the kid? But also, they threw him on 3 days rest in a SoCon tournament to punch their ticket. You really think they're not going to throw him on 4? I said the biggest thing that would surprise me is if Gage Jump or Luke Holman isn't starting for LSU. The second biggest thing is if Zach Cohen isn't starting for Wofford, because their other option is Camden Wicker, who would also be on 4 days rest because they had to play 2 games on the 26th in order to win that SoCon tournament. So you're going to go with your horse. So when you look at Zach Cohen, he's 9-2 on the year with a 3.55 ERA. He has thrown 3 complete games, 104 innings, 28 walks, 118 strikeouts. The opponent hits 240 off of Cohen. It is a very athletic, very repeatable, very comfortable motion and delivery that causes a lot of deception. The fastball's not going to blow you away. His best pitch is a changeup, and it's really, really good. And then he's added a breaking ball to the mix as well. So it's a true 3-pitch mix and a very athletic guy who has experience on short rest and will most likely be facing this LSU lineup. I'll go on record. That's the pitching matchup I think you see. I don't think it's some groundbreaking take, but I think you see Gage Jump for LSU and Zach Cohen for Wofford. Now, let's dig in a little bit more on this Wofford team, shall we? Let's start offensively, because that is absolutely what jumps off the page, and it has been a record-setting year offensively for Wofford. They have set team records in runs scored, hits, triples with 33. That leads the nation, mind you. RBI, walks, sac flies, and hit by pitches. They are number 3 in the country in batting average at .340. We have talked about that. They are 7th in the nation in stolen bases with 144. They are top 25 in doubles. When you look at them just in scoring at 10 runs per game, that is second in the country, as well as their 603 runs are second in the country. They've been really, really good. And I know what plenty of people can say. Look who they play. They play in the SoCon. It's not a great league. And you're right. And I will tell you the same thing I told you Monday when we looked at the regional field. I don't care. And here's why I don't care. We've also talked about this. Baseball is a game where you have to execute. You can't just go out there and bully the person in front of you or the team in front of you because you're bigger, stronger, and more athletic than them. You have to throw strikes on the mound. You have to take good at bats, and you still have to hit the round ball with the round bat, and it's a very, very difficult thing to do, and they've done it very well and very consistently over a 59-game sample. And the reason they've been able to do that is they play a very repeatable style of baseball, and they are excellent at it. This is a small ball team. They are not going to mash the ball out of the park. They have a few guys that can do that, but this is a small ball team. The top of their lineup is elite with Marshall Toole, who's hitting .383, and he has led off all 59 games, so he will be there. He is also 42 of 45 in stolen bases. They'll follow him up with Dixon Black in the 2-hole. He has hit 2-hole all 59 games this year, and he's at .368 and can actually run the ball out of the yard. Second on the team with 13 homers, 75 RBI to lead the team out of their 2-hole. And you might say, man, how's that the case? Well, because their 9-hole guy, Jack Renwick, is the small ball king. You've seen LSU do this. You used to see Paul Maneri do this all the time. Have that 9-hole guy act like a second leadoff. And that's what Jack Renwick has been able to do for for Wofford this season. .342, and he's just gotten on base in front of Marshall Toole, flipped the lineup, and set up Dixon Black for a lot of success. What Wofford does so well, they get on base by any means necessary. Their head coach, J.J. Edwards, when asked about the hallmark of their offense, talked about this. Their ability to just get on base and keep things moving. They get a lot of free passes. You are looking at 310 walks, program record, 104 hit by pitches, 414 free passes against 420 strikeouts. LSU has got to throw strikes. And when you get this team to 2 strikes, you have got to put them away. And that has been a problem for LSU at times this year. But when I see a team that has 414 free passes up against 420 strikeouts, almost even, that shows they are committed to their approach. They have a great understanding of the strike zone, and they are pesky hitters to put away. The biggest thing LSU has to do in this game against Wofford, and again, this isn't going to be groundbreaking. This is going to sound very, very, simple and cliche, but it's a conversation we talk about all the time when LSU faces a small ball team. We had this exact same conversation last year when LSU faced Kentucky. And again, when LSU faced Kentucky this season, we've had it on against plenty teams. LSU has to keep the leadoff man off base. And I'm not just talking about Marshall Toole. Marshall Toole is going to, of course, he could lead off, more than once, but he's going to lead the game off one time. And he's been great at that. He's been fantastic. He's got an on-base percentage of .469. But he starts a trend that I want to talk about with Wofford. It's not just him leading off the game. When he leads off an inning, Marshall Toole reaches base 40% of the time. And there are 9, listen to me, 9 other players on this team with at least 10 leadoff opportunities in an inning that also reach base 40% of the time. 9, not including Marshall Toole. You're looking at Dixon Black, 43% of the time. Andrew Manley, 50% of the time. Bryce Martinez, 50% of the times. Lucas Manning, 62% of the time. Tyler Bach, 43% of the time. Do you get the picture? It's damn near everybody in their lineup. You have to keep the leadoff man off base if you're LSU, and that also has been a problem for them. Do you remember a few weeks ago, or whatever it was, when I sacrificed my mental health and crunched the numbers of all the leadoff guys that LSU had led on base in the SEC, and it was ridiculous. Here, let's find it. Let's scroll back through the notepad, and we'll find the numbers when that was. Even though I don't really want to, it was nauseating. Here we go. It was through the Mississippi State series up through that Southern game. And LSU had allowed 35% base runners to reach base in that stretch, leadoff hitters to reach base in that stretch, and more than half of them were on free passes. Now, LSU's gotten a lot better at that down the stretch when they've started pitching better, but it is going to be hella under the microscope when they face Wofford on Friday. That is single-handedly the biggest key for LSU is to keep the leadoff man off base. The other reason that's going to be massively important is because Wofford, very, very good at moving runners. Very, very good with guys on base. You expect Dixon Black to be great with runners on base. He's the RBI leading guy. You expect Marshall Toole, right? He's the best hitter on the team. Those guys are also good without runners on base. Like Marshall Toole's hitting .315 with the bases empty. Dixon Black's hitting .325. To prove how good they are at the small ball, how good they are at executing sack bunts, moving the offense, look at a guy like Andrew Manley. He's hitting .246 with the bases empty. With runners on, .326. That is 80 points higher. Wait, there's more. Bryce Martinez, who hits 3 or 4 in this lineup, is hitting .286 with the bases empty. That's still pretty good. He's hitting .445 with runners on. That is 159 points higher. Jack Renwick, who we're about to really go deep dive on, is hitting .220 with the bases empty. He is hitting .427 with runners on. That's not runners in scoring position. That's just with runners on, and that is 207 points higher than when the bases are empty. He is the king, if you will, of small ball. This is a guy that has set the career record for stolen bases at Wake Forest with 95. By the way, this season, he is a perfect 16 of 16. This is a guy that, I lost my sac fly number. Hold on. Had 28 sacrifice bunts last season, but he's a senior, and he is the career leader in sacrifice hits for Wofford with 52. So not only, oh, and by the way, he's one off the SoCon record, which was set by Brett Gardner. He didn't stink, played a long time in the major leagues. So that's the company you're looking at with a guy like Jack Renwick. He is small ball extraordinaire, small ball king. He hits 207 points higher with runners on base, but he also just understands how to move the offense, can lead the team in sac bunts, leads them in sacrifice hits. He's got a great understanding of what they want to do. And as much as great as Marshall Toole is, as great as Dixon Black, you can argue that Jack Renwick actually makes this offense go if you are Wofford. So that's what you're looking at from them. And we didn't even talk about the freshman catcher, Daniel Jackson, who has just been incredible and enters this game with a 48-game reached base streak. Keep the leadoff man off base, stifle this offense. It sounds really simple. There's all your reasoning why you have to do it. Now, the one thing that is interesting about this lineup is they aren't great at comebacks. They have comebacks on the year, but they've all been early. I should say they're not great at late comebacks. And I like that because LSU's bullpen has been pitching really well at the end of games lately. Wofford is 1-11 when trailing after 6, 1-12 when trailing after 7, and 0-13 when trailing after 8. Now, a lot of that could be you get down big and your small ball approach just maybe isn't enough to keep up. But if LSU can carry a lead late into this game, their chances of winning increase tenfold. So file that away. Let's talk about the pitching staff as a whole. We talked about Zach Cohen. Zach Cohen. He's very good. Outside of that, it's a lot of meh if you're looking at Wofford. One of the things they do very well is limit free passes. So as great as they are drawing the free passes, they're equally as good limiting the free passes. Wofford this season is 26th in the nation in strikeout to walk ratio. They have the 15th best mark of walks per 9 in the nation at 3.4. And then, of course, Zach Cohen's incredible. But despite that, you look at Wofford and you see a team with a team ERA of 5.75. And you might say, why? Well, they get hit. They're in the zone an awful lot. If you're LSU, you can be aggressive against this team. What did we say? In 104 innings, Cohen has walked 28 guys. He's going to be in the zone. Pitch recognition is just going to be a really big deal there. Wofford as a staff has a team batting average against of 274. Like, in 508 and 2/3 innings, they've given up 551 hits. As a staff, more hits than innings pitched. Opportunity is there for LSU. And if I'm LSU, I'm aggressive. They're in the zone. I'm going out. I'm being very, very aggressive. And here's the other reason why. Wofford is just 9-8 this season when the opponent scores first. Jump out on them, get a lead, and let Gage Jump go if you're LSU. And you definitely have the ability to do that against this staff. Alec Bouchard is their closer. He's got 22 appearances on the year. He has an ERA just south of 7. 5 saves. You know they're going to go to him. The opponent hits 280. He's not overpowering. If you look at some of their best relievers, you're looking at Kenny Michaels, who's got 16 appearances and an ERA of 4.2. And then there's Branton Little, 16 appearances as well, with an ERA of 4.7. But there's Mike Eggert, who's second on the team in appearances with 18, who has an ERA over 7. There is plenty of opportunity. I want to see LSU be aggressive, and they've been really good against starting pitching. And while Zach Cohen's been great, he's coming in on short rest, and LSU's been really good against starting pitching. And I like the direction that LSU's offense has been heading. And we've talked about that all week. We talked about that last week when LSU was in the SEC tournament. I thought that was why the run is actually sustainable. So those are my keys for LSU. Keep the leadoff man off base. Get off the field when you can. Well, we've said that now, for 6-7 weeks? Be aggressive, jump on them early and score first. Because them playing from behind, especially late in games, hasn't been a huge success point for Wofford. I think LSU gets the job done Friday, and they move on to the winner's bracket, and then we can talk more about North Carolina. I will tell you this. I am not sold that LSU comes out of this regional. I have tremendous respect for North Carolina, and we went through that on a previous show. I think they've actually not gotten the respect that they've deserved. And they have not lost back-to-back games at home all season and have only lost twice in general at home. So I am not sold that LSU comes out of this regional. But I think that they beat Wofford on Friday. And then we can talk about North Carolina and what has to happen for LSU to make it out of the regional. One game at a time. And it'll be tomorrow. It'll be on Friday at 11 a.m. Y'all smash the like button. Get subscribed up to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Get subscribed up on your favorite podcast app. Smash the like button. Share. Follow me on social media. And be here next time for more on Musso at the Box.